Hey everyone, this is my brand new podcast titled I Still Love My Narcissist, and I'm your podcast host, Beatty. My full name is Batel, but I love my nickname. It's Beatty. Call me that, call me whatever, call me Batel, call me Beatty, whatever floats your boat. Wow, I'm really nervous or anxious, excited more so to be coming to you guys with this podcast. I've been itching literally for a while now to put out this content because, as many of you guys have shared on TikTok, right now my TikTok name is Why Boundaries, but it will soon be I Still Love My Narcissist. And I'm gonna explain to you guys why, because I don't want you guys to think that this is just like a crazy name and I'm over here like gaslighting you guys in your pain. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'll get into why I chose that name. It's a pretty peculiar name. But I created this podcast because I felt like when I was figuring out about narcissistic personality disorder and narcissistic abuse as a survivor, it was really hard to find content that I felt that I can relate to, that can help me, that I felt seen by. Absolutely love Dr. Ramani. She was definitely a huge part of my healing journey, and she still is. But there's not really any content from the survivors, and I feel like survivors have a very specific and very not just nuanced but like a real, like we have a real understanding of what it is that we went through. That's like outside of the pathology. Dr. Ramani is really great at sharing all of the nitty-gritty and other resources that are out there. Resources that are out there right now, they give you a lot of information, right? But there's nothing that really magnifies or puts like a microphone to your pain. And that's what my podcast is here to do. That's what I Still Love My Narcissist is focused about. It's about validating your experience. It's about sharing with you all of the intricate ways in which these people have damaged not only my life, but your life and the lives of many people in your family. How a lot of these things that we went through were meant to absolutely break and shatter us, and that experience is so unique. It's so I can't even put into words how unique it is, because I swear to you, it took me fighting back a lot of tears to actually like sit and speak, because just thinking about all of the ways in which this person had torn me down, there's such a pain that like no one can relate to unless you've been in this situation. Like the pain, the hurt, the betrayal, the confusion, the questions, the like roller coaster of emotions that you go through on a day-to-day. I mean, just even when I was getting all of the information about who he was and recognizing that he was a narcissist, and from there to deciding that I was going to leave the relationship, it was so many ups and downs. And I feel like there's no content right now taking into account that critical period. There's no content that focuses on the day-to-day. Because guess what? I had to count days. I don't know if you guys had to do this, but I literally was like day 1 without this person, day 2, day 3. Like that was how I could get through the pain. That was how I could literally pick myself off the floor. By day 100, I was no longer crying every single day. But imagine it took 100 days for me to not cry my eyes to sleep, It took all that time because the advantage that these people take of you and the way in which you just don't see it coming. They have you so convinced that they're great people, and all of the ways that they've manipulated, they've gaslit, they've isolated you and used their family and their friends to also abuse you, and financially, limited you and stagnating you in many areas of your life. It's just, there's no clinical psychologist, there's no pathological explanation, there's no, neurotransmitters and this, there's no amount of science that can justify how horrendous these people were. Even put a word to the experience that you go through being in a relationship with them, being in close proximity with them, living with them, because I lived with my narcissist for 2 years. I also just wanted to tell you guys that this is a place where if you have seen that you're in a toxic relationship, you recognize that this person's a narcissist. And mind you, there's 1,000,001, forums and information out there to help you identify all the signs. But there's nothing really walking you through the process of leaving. I don't care what anyone says, I find it really creepy that there's so many narcissists, self-aware narcissists, I don't even know what that means. I don't know, that have all of these platforms, one, empowering narcissists, because many of these people, they go through therapy just to become better manipulators and, more evil. Seriously. Not only does it do that, but like, secondly, it also is monetizing off of our pain. I'm so tired of every NPD person, specialist, whatever, who is working on their disorder, who now has a book and a huge platform and this and that. And it's like, you have a huge platform because you were hurting people all your life? That's wild to me, bro. It's really wild. And I want people in the community to wake up. I can only speak for myself, and as a victim of NPD abuse, both from my father and 2 years, well, in a relationship with this person, I can say that I would 100% relate to any pain that you guys go through. I understand the process. I understand the strength that you have one day, then the next day you know, are doubting yourself and leaving this relationship. I understand that the love is still there. And that actually gets into why I named it I Still Love My Narcissist. I named this podcast I Still Love My Narcissist because the reality is that I do. It was never me that had any intention to hurt this person. And if it was up to me, and if it was up to many of you guys listening, this would not be the outcome. The outcome was for us to live happily ever after, was for us to grow and to, you know, accomplish our goals and our dreams and to become a family and to have children and to get married and to go on and just have this really beautiful life. I fell truly for the love bomb. You know, that's why I say I still love the narcissist. My love was not like theirs. Our love was never like theirs. Their love was to trap us. It was to manipulate us. It was to coerce us into getting whatever it is that they wanted. But our love wasn't like that. We actually genuinely loved them. I personally have this belief that once you love someone, man, if you ever love someone, even if the relationship doesn't work out, even if that person's no longer in your life, you will always have love for that person. You will never want them to struggle or to go through harm, no matter what it is that they do to you. You can recognize, like, I loved you. I will always love you. You are just a horrible person and I need to get my stuff and go. And that's when you have peace with the narcissist, when you still have anger towards them, when you still have all of these feelings, these emotions, the betrayal, the hate. You're still in that healing journey. Because I felt those emotions. I can validate every single emotion that you guys felt. Not only can I validate on it, I can speak on it. I can share personal accounts. And it's not going to be a one-time thing where I have one person, you know, different people coming in and sharing their experiences. It's going to be me journeying with you guys and telling you how I got through the first phase, what the love bombing phase felt like, what it felt like to go through discard and devaluation, what it felt like to be financially limited, to, you know, not be able to see my friends and family, to be isolated, to lose myself. Literally, I lost who I was, genuinely loving this person. So I decided to call this podcast I Still Love My Narcissist because I was always real from the beginning. I was always genuine. I was always there. I would have never hurt him. I would have never did, let alone a quarter. I would have never did one thing that he did to me. I would never hurt him. I would never betray him. I would never use him. I would never manipulate him. I would never gaslight him. I would never abuse his sleep, abuse his time, abuse his space. I would never do that. I would never. I took care of his heart. Even when he stepped all over mine. Even when he made me cry day after day, I still would have never done that to him. That's why this podcast name is I Still Love My Narcissist, is because I never changed. I never flipped. I never switched. I was 100 from day one. And they were the liars. They were the manipulators. They were the users. They were the evil ones. Never me. This is not... You know, a lot of times whenever I think about like a toxic relationship, people say like, oh, this relationship is toxic or whatever. It always like implies that there were two people that were super toxic and like two people were hurting each other. But in narcissistic relationships, there is no them being hurt. You are the one going through absolute hell. They are not feeling anything. I had actually reconnected with my ex again, and I remember him being like, yeah, like I could really, you know, go back to us dating. And I was like, I could never do that. I almost died in that relationship. Do you know that? Do you know how much you hurt? Do you know what it is that I went through? I would never do that to myself ever again. And he was like, well, all I could remember is that, we had great times. Like, I actually don't have any trauma. And I was like, of course you don't. Yeah. Yeah, of course you freaking don't have any trauma. I'm the one whose health was jeopardized, whose finances were jeopardized, whose life was in jeopardy, who was crying my eyes out every single day. I was the one getting the silent treatment. I was the one that had to walk on eggshells. I was the one that was humiliated by your friends and family. I was the one who went through hell. Of course you're fine. Are you kidding me? And that's when I recognized, like, wow, we really, really, really don't have a space. These people are not only hurting and traumatizing and breaking us, now they're gonna take the onus and tell us how to deal with the fact of what they're doing to us. But by all these narcissists having all these platforms, having all these seminars and telling, NPD survivors that this is what you do. And when a narcissist is doing this, do that. Like, excuse me? You're writing the rule book on how to survive your evilness? Get out of here. This is no way. No way. And that's when I said, no. I'm gonna take back my power. Yeah, I did love you. I did love the narcissist. I did love my narcissist. I loved that man. Oh my God. That's like actually the hardest part is like, man, I loved that man. I loved him. I would have done anything for him. I can show you guys like receipts later on. I loved him. I cared for him. I nourished his heart. I introduced him to God and poured spiritually into him. I poured financially into our relationship. I poured my heart and soul into trying to make him a better person and help him through his pain, and blamed myself and just gave and gave and gave until I had nothing. I was literally on the verge of like losing my mind. I love that man so much. And that's my power. My power is knowing that, you know what? From day one to the end, I was real. I never switched up. I never manipulated. I never acted like someone else. I never masked. I never did anything. I was me from day one. You are the monster. You are the one who pretended to be someone you weren't, who literally had me bamboozled, fooled, literally into thinking that you were a great person. So I met this man actually on New Year's of 2020, right? What a great way to start off the decade. I was 23 years old. I was also talking to another guy who had a lot of narcissistic components. So I know that, as a child of a narcissist, that I'm way more prone to this, and we'll get a lot more into that later on. I was talking to a guy actually overseas, and he was just treating me so horribly, literally, even though he wasn't even here, that I was just like, I just need something new. I need to talk to someone different. And I was out on New Year's Eve, and I met him. He was really handsome, super kind, charming, very cool, laid back, dressed really nicely, and I was smitten. Fast forward, I basically end up falling in love with him, and I'm actually going to save my story for another day. I thought that I was going to share it today, but I already know it's going to take an hour just for me to go through it, and I want you guys to stick around for it because I have receipts. At first I was like, I'm gonna cover him, since I loved him so much. I'm not gonna expose a lot of the things he did because that's just what you do. And God was like, he never covered you. I literally heard the Holy Spirit telling me like, no, expose him. Show the world who he really was to you. Because this man broke me, man. He really did. But God. If it wasn't for God, I don't even know where I would be. I seriously don't even know where I would be. This podcast would only be an introduction and just to let you guys know that this is a safe space. If, and I'm prepared to be for you guys. Like when I tell you, when I was going through that breakup and I was deciding that I didn't want to suffer anymore, that I needed to get out, anyone who's been through that situation knows that you have to make that decision first and foremost in your heart. And so when I had decided in my heart, like, oh my God, like I can't do this anymore. I'm on the verge of like losing my mind. Like I'm about to lose my mind. Like I need to get out of this. Like already my health was deteriorating. And I knew that it was like life or death. Like this man was gonna take me out. Like he was literally gonna kill me if I stayed in this relationship. When I was making that decision in my heart, ultimately what I felt, I don't wanna cry. I felt so alone. You know, this is not the kind of thing that you share with your parents or your family or even your closest friends. The abuse that you endure and the way that you constantly make excuses for this person, you can't share with anyone actually the reality of what's going on a day to day. Like, you actually can't. You feel like you can't because you love them, but they also have you in this like bubble of abuse, and you know they've made you feel like everything is your fault and you already feel worthless and you feel like you have no one. And yeah, it's not something that you can share with your parents or your siblings or your friends. So you're just suffering alone, all by yourself. On one side, you have all of this information about the reality of who this person is via all the information on the internet about narcissism and NPD. And then on the other, you have your emotions. You have the love bombing. You have this person that you thought you knew. And it's just like constantly like those two sides are in constant like fight with one another inside of your mind and in your heart. It's like your mind fighting with your heart, and the reality that you're looking at is bleak, but at the same time you have this never-ending hope, and it feels so alone. It feels so alone. It feels incredibly alone. And if I had something to listen to, someone that can say, keep going, it's okay, tomorrow will be better, then I wouldn't have suffered as deeply as I did. I wouldn't have made a lot of mistakes going back and forth the way I did. I wouldn't have felt all of those emotions that my life was gonna be over, that I was destroyed and everything was over with, like the way that I had. The way that the abuse that you endure with them through those 2, 3, 4, some of you guys 10, 20 years breaks you down inside. You have no sense of self. You have nothing to leave with when once you decide to leave. That's the reality of it. It's like this person not only treats you so horribly, it's not only toxic or whatever. Those are just simple terms. They break you down to the point where like when you're finally recognizing what you're in quicksand. Like you're literally sinking faster than you can recognize how the heck to get out. And by the time that you even have the energy, the courage, or the means to leave, you get pulled back, or you have nothing inside. You have no strength. You finished all of your strength dealing with them, that you have no strength for yourself once you're out or as you're getting out. So I just want this to be a source of strength for you guys. If you're a man, if you're a woman, no matter who you are, if you're a child, anyone that is going through what this is, these people and what they've done to you, I just want to say that I understand. I feel your pain. I know how dark the days are. I know how bleak the future looks for you on your own. I know the hope that you're holding on to on the inside for the both of you, for that relationship. I know. This is going to be a podcast, as God blesses this podcast, as more and more listeners tune in, that this is not only going to be an information type podcast. Like, I will be setting up financial support, emotional support sessions. I want to meet each and every one of you. I want to pray together. I want to uplift. I want you guys to know that you are so strong. Now that I'm nearly a year out of that dark place that I thought I'd never, ever, ever find myself in, and I thought that I would never, ever, ever be able to pick myself up from that floor. I never thought that I would be where I am today. If you had told me 9 months ago that today I would be as strong as I am, that I would be free, that I'm living a whole new life, man, I would have never believed you. I would have never believed you. We are so strong. You are stronger than you think you are. You are stronger. I give you strength now. I speak to your spirit now and I tell you that you are strong and you can do this. You will not live a life of sadness, of misery, of exhaustion, of humiliation, degradation, dehumanization. That will not be your life. And I speak that over your life now. Scripture says that there's power in the tongue and that we speak life and death through our words. So I say that you will be fine. You will be fine. This podcast is to help you gain awareness, to gain strength, to make you feel seen, to provide support, emotional and any others, and to let you know that you are so strong. You are stronger than you think, and that tomorrow, it's a new day. Tomorrow, it's a whole new day, and your life, listen, it is going to be amazing. Thank God you're nothing like them. Thank God that you have a heart. Thank God that you have a future. Thank God that you're not as miserable as they are. Thank God that you have a personality, a persona, a heart, and a spirit that would never hurt anyone, that would never betray, that would never tear down, that would never destroy someone. I thank God every day that I'm like that, So thank you guys for listening. I love you guys so much. I'm super excited for this podcast, and I want to say that have a blessed day. I can't wait to continue to connect with you guys and be a source of help and light and support. Be blessed. I'll see you guys on my next podcast. Bye.